This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with David Stassen and Alice Mathias about their terrific work on History of the World Part 2. How are you both doing today?
Really well, thanks.
Good, thank you. How are you?
Terrific. I'm excited to be discussing this very fun show. I'm curious if you both remember the first time you saw History of the World Part 1.
Yes, I think we both do. I think very similar experiences. We were both in Chicago in our in our home living rooms, and it was a VHS tape. I was with my brother, and yeah, and then it was the first of many rewatches of all the Mel Brooks movies that, um, as I've said a few times, he was like a babysitter to me as a kid. It was Blazing Saddles and History and Young Frankenstein that were just on a loop when my parents wanted to drink and I had to be by myself. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I think our household down, also in Chicago, but where I grew up with my family, we were definitely like a big Robin Hood Men in Tights family. So History of the World was a later discovery for us. I think we basically just watched that movie over and over again throughout my childhood. But yeah, what a fun experience getting to contribute to part two.
And what was the experience of working with Mel like? Was that what you expected?
I mean, I didn't really know really what to expect, but will say he was incredibly generous and present. I mean, the undertaking of trying to follow up Mel Brooks's directing with a second installment of Mel Brooks's work is like a little humiliating to even take on. So he really offered guidance, like explicitly reached out and said, like, if I can help with anything, I will. And ultimately his work is all available, like you can, anytime I had self-doubt or needed to, find solutions to a scene to make it punch up the comedy, etc., I just turn on one of his movies and like observe what he does with blocking. And he's got so much, he has so much such a clear comedic point of view and sensibility, so it's just always about returning to that for guidance.
Yeah, he's obviously good for a lot of reasons, but having worked with him on this, you see one of the ways he's so good is he's so generous with like praise and ideas and jokes. And we would, give him what we've been working on and update him. And here's where we're headed. And he just right away would have a joke pitch for whatever he heard in that moment. And just was, so supportive. And I'm sure like, when he was working all the time in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and he was running writers' rooms, like that's how he was. He wanted, comedy doesn't work like in a negative environment. And Mel certainly set the tone with us like right away, with like telling us jokes he'd been thinking of for 40 years that he wanted in the show. And so we just took that and ran with it.
And it's obviously a different time now, and some of the stuff from some of his previous films doesn't hold up as well, just in terms of the way society is. How do you think that this show does in terms of melding the expectations of those who did watch the first film on VHS and a newer audience who is used to a different kind of comedy?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right that you're laying out exactly the work that we needed to do, which was make this feel authentic to his voice and his canon and embrace the kind of little idiosyncrasies of his work, funny character names like silly blocking or camera angles and moving body parts, musical numbers. Like we've had these touchstones that were like these decisions, these choices and opportunities for comedy will make this feel authentic to his voice. But I think also we're bringing our own sensibilities as people working in comedy today and as people living in the world today to the work. And so that part of it is pretty natural and easy, I would say. The intimidating thing was really trying to make this feel like something that belongs to Mel Brooks's canon.
Yeah. When we were writing, we kept talking about the Mel Brooks universe, the MBU. And that was just, I think, a reminder to like always try and hit that tone that Alice is talking about, because that's how it's going to feel like. Why are we doing this show now? Well, we're not doing like a new sketch show. This is more like a throwback. And I think it's nice that like a lot of the Mel Brooks sort of humor, like while it changed comedy, it maybe hasn't been as prominent in the last couple decades. So I think to us, it felt fresh and fun to think of creative ways to like honor the tone that Mel always had.
I think you both do a great job. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to speak with me.
Thanks, Abe.
Thanks.